Um, is it too soon to rage quit yet? Yeah, that's why they made the last episode the one they made. They made no. They the last episode is specifically the last episode because they knew anybody that was watching this would rage quit if they saw it earlier, and they want to make sure everybody watched every other episode before rage quitting on the last one. That's the only justification I can think of for the last episode. That it was a giant troll on all the viewers. The last episode is a troll on the viewers. It's intentionally made the last episode because it's so stupid that they knew they were likely to lose most of their viewers if they watched it. So they decided to make it the last episode so that if people did rage quit out of the entire series after watching that piece of crap, that they wouldn't they would have watched all the other episodes before they did.
Testing, testing. Okay, I'm finally here. Okay, I'm glad I realized it a few minutes into the podcast. At least Jock got his he got his words out. I saw that he was still audible. Just test me.
Okay.
Test again. Just test your
Test
voice out.
again. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, testing.
Okay, yeah, you were there before. It was just me. You were just talking to yourself, which interesting. Though you guess you were talking to me, you're talking to the viewers. So actually, that doesn't matter. Never mind. But carry on as I was saying. To piggyback off Jock, I'm on the opposite spectrum of this thing. I feel like if this show, for me, had the amount of action that this last episode had, to me, it would have been a lot better of a show. And I know
It's a really generous word for someone killing badly animated CGI sheep.
those aren't really badly animated. Those look actually pretty
Horribly
good too.
animated CGI sheep.
Like we have a different opinion, and this is me trying to be in antithesis to your hatred. It's like I think they look fine.
Have you ever hit an animal with a car before?
No, I actually try not to.
Okay, have you ever? Are you aware that people hit, like, for example, deer with their car?
I'm not an idiot.
Okay. Well, I'm just checking here because I didn't think you were an idiot until you started saying you liked this episode.
Wow. Wow, hold
When
it, hold up.
somebody
No, hold up. No, we're not. No, no, no. First of all, first, first, first thing, no. You're not gonna insult me, even if you are trying to be funny. You're not gonna insult me or my intelligence.
you can't say it
Because
without laughing.
because I legitimately did like this episode. For me, I think I was trying to say this before, is like, you're claiming content. I didn't think this is interesting of me to say because I know that I'm on the opposite side of every Kinos Journey fan here. This isn't even me trying to be on the opposite. This is just my general thought. For me, there was more action. To me, this every episode had more action like that, and throughout the show, I would have enjoyed this a lot more. Now I'm gonna sit there, and I'm gonna also caveat that with I know that there was a Coliseum, so there was definitely action in this show, but for some strange reason, there was more budget. There was more budget used in this episode and
Uh-huh.
in the episode with the Coliseum, and it may be the first episode. For some reason, they decided to not use their budget in places that I think they should have. They
Their
decided,
CGI, their bad CGI animation budget. Is that what you're referring to? I just want to make sure we're still on the same page while you spew insanity.
those sheep are not badly animated. You're just mad.
They're horribly animated. It's
You're
like
just mad. You're
it was
just
it
mad.
was
You're
you know
just
it wasn't pizza animation bad, but it was bad. It wasn't as bad as the pizza, but it was bad for sure.
I think this is like where I don't understand where some people are coming from legitimately. 'Cause, like, I'm gonna just take this. I'm gonna put aside the CGI sheep real quick. But like when it comes to like the way something looks or whatever like that, this
Yeah.
argument I always hear so much when it comes to. I know I'm not gonna get a groan when I say this, but whatever. When it comes to the Pokemon series, this is probably the only way I can relate anything I'm trying to feel, like really, and just trying to compare it a little bit. When it comes to the Pokemon series, people always complain that the 3D games look bad, and I never understood it. I legitimately never understood it. They looked great to me. That was like that. Like to me, it's like I didn't see. Could it have been better? Sure, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that to me, when people say it looks bad, I don't know what they were expecting. It is the same thing with the sheep. Like I will admit, I did take note of whenever Kino was definitely shooting the sheep, and also when she was running the sheep over with the jeep. That apparently she was taught how to use from her master. That was never explained. But
What, a Jeep?
yeah, to me, it's like it sounds like it takes a license or like that to operate these things. I don't. The way she talked about thank you, master, for telling me how to operate these things sounded like you just can't sit there and operate this thing. Is what I was getting at. Is what I was inferring from the way she said that. But
Okay.
but basically the sheep. I understand you're probably talking about when she knocked the sheep over when she was running them over, and I guess I will give you this: the sheep, no, well, not even the sheep, the ram. That's what those are. They were ram, not sheep. I'm not gonna get into that. But
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
The ram
We're
that
on the
she
same
was
page with that.
when she was running over the ram or the sheep,
Uh-huh.
whatever. But the freaking thing, I understand. Usually, animals that heavy don't just be knocked over like pins. But I'm willing to overlook that because there was more action in this episode. And I was enjoying myself.
Uh-huh. So
Also,
what does the word ram mean to you?
uh,
If you saw a horned animal charging at you and knew that its common name was ram, what does the word ram? What's as a verb? What does the word ram mean?
run into object.
Like, aggressively crash into something with something that has probably a good chance of doing damage, right?
I guess
Like a ram. Most times when you're ramming something, you're there to hurt it, like to do something significant to it, right?
uh-huh.
So when Kino, I use the term Kino generously here, um, because it's barely Kino at this point. When Kino charges her Jeep towards the many rams, knowing full well that a deer can total a car, one deer can hit your car on the side, not even in the front, and total your car. So when Kino, generous again, I'm being generous by calling her Kino at all, even in the first place at this point. When Kino hits the Rams with that Jeep and they start bouncing off like they're a fucking like beach ball. And that's what we see happening there, right? Like we see like them bouncing off multiple. She hits at least 15 Rams, if not many more. Why are we okay with that? I'm sorry, maybe I missed the memo.
I feel like I knew you were gonna pick a problem with the sheep. Well, not sheep. Sorry, ram. Well, there was a couple of sheep in there, but whatever.
No, let's go.
Ram.
Let's go ahead and call them Rams because almost all of them, if not all of them, were Rams.
There's a few
These
sheep in there.
if a horned animal runs headlong into a car, straight at it, the car is going to win, but the car is going to be like badly damaged, if not inoperable afterwards. If you're driving directly into a ram head on, it's going to be like your car's you can't expect your car to be usable anymore after that.
I honestly wasn't thinking about half like the ramifications.
Oh
I didn't.
God.
I literally think I really got to say I didn't expect that until they came out of my mouth. So I wasn't even thinking when I was saying words.
Uh-huh.
But when I was thinking about the ramification, I wasn't really thinking about the ramifications of this moment. I was just enjoying the fact that she was having a go at these things that were causing her problems from the very beginning of the dang show of the episode,
So
because
so
they
so long
target
as
her. They target her anyway when she rolls in with the bike, which I still don't completely understand. They explain later on that they're just really they're just bred aggressively, but
uh-huh.
even that seems to me. Now this is just me. To me, that's even like I understand that there are some animals that are aggressive just by nature. That's just the
Uh-huh.
nature of the world we live in. There are some animals that are just naturally aggressive, but to me, like that was way more aggressive, even for Ram, which I do know Ram are aggressive. They are aggressive. There's a reason like
Uh-huh.
why you don't see Ram in sheep pens. You don't want to deal with them because, as Spear has pointed out, hard head does not feel good being rammed against you. So like, and these are male sheep, by the way, too. These aren't like, they're not like the sheep that we know of that are female. I want to point out that sheep are female,
Uh-huh.
ram or not, and this is why they're aggressive. But the fact that they were bred to be like this, and even the female, even the sheep were involved in all this, is really weird. That they all targeted her the moment that she rolled right in, which seems really weird. Like there are just that many. But now I will say, animal abuse isn't funny. But like, I will have to say that they weren't leaving her alone. So as messed up as her headshotting a good portion of them things was, and then burning the rest. Apparently, not all of them were burned either. I think she just burnt some of them. I don't think they all. I don't think she sent them all flying into the ravine, dead afterwards. But
No, she didn't kill nearly all of them.
I like it,
Nor possibly could she have,
I
as long as we're being fair about it.
I like I approved of her shooting. Now I will say I'm surprised you didn't bring this up. Maybe you were going to at some point. At the very beginning of the episode, when she is being chased by them, it is brought up that she would prefer not to be I forgot the word she used, but she was like, it was like indiscriminate shooting of things. And I had picked up on that because you aren't trying to indiscriminately kill. You seemed fine with that in the episode with the Coliseum in it. I thought that was kind of strange.
Mm-hmm.
So like I will say I picked up on some things that seem kind of odd as weird choices they decided to have her say now. It makes me wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me wonder. Maybe these episodes aren't shown in chronological order as you were assuming, because there are varying choices that she says throughout these episodes that makes me think that these weren't in chronological order. Now I will say I could not tell you where this episode went, so if it wasn't in order, so I'm not even gonna argue for or against this being not in order or this being in order.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. But yeah, we'll say the choicing, the wording that it didn't irritate me. It was one of those that I picked up on the moment she said it. I was like, you didn't seem to have a problem shooting humans. What's the difference between these sheep? Just by the
That's the
way,
plot point that you couldn't handle, not the fact that she could drive through 85 sheep without like damaging a Jeep. The Jeep was perfectly fine afterwards.
I already told you earlier. I was like, I was just I guess I didn't say I suspended my disbelief, but
Why not
I
just
guess
have her run and ram them with her own head at that point? I mean, if we're completely like, why don't we just own the absurdity of what she's doing?
I
And she
don't
can just
seem to be all that
ram
bothered.
straight into them with her head instead of like trying to pretend like we need a Jeep to do it.
I mean I guess I wasn't all that bothered by it. Like,
Why
legitimately.
not? Why not just kick them? Why don't you just jump in and start kicking them and they all fly off like that?
I wasn't all that bothered by it. I guess also I wasn't really thinking about it either. Like that really was like, I think at some point I turned my brain off. Man, this is how
Yeah, yeah, I can tell you turned your brain off. Brain off. Believe me.
man, I cannot tell if these are snide remarks or actual insults right
But
now.
no, you were flatlining, dude. You were straight on flatlining. It's I can sense it. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm in support.
I mean, I was enjoying this episode because it just seemed fun.
Let
To
me ask
me,
you something.
to me, there was no fun episodes this entire show. Like there was just no
How,
straight fun.
let me ask you something.
This is gonna be an insult.
How did the traveler that she found that was apparently supposedly killed by the sheep or died in the sheep's area? How did he die?
I assume that he shot himself in the head.
He didn't have any damage to his skull. All he was left was a skull, and it was in fine shape.
He didn't really see the skull, and I refuse to believe that the sheep did it, because it means the sheep would have cleaned his bone. There's no way, like, just straight up decaying would have cleaned those bones the way they did. And on top of that, the clothing the person was wearing wasn't.
So you can see around 909, you can perfectly see the skull. It's completely undamaged.
But the sheep didn't eat him.
I know. He died with a loaded gun and a jeep that was disabled but not inoperable. With Kino apparently doesn't think that he died that they broke his shin, because she's like, look, he has a broken shin. The only apparent injury on him is his broken shin. If he had a hole in his skull, she'd be like, oh, he killed himself. She says his shin was broken, so he couldn't escape. And apparently he just laid on the ground after that until he died and decomposed, because there's no other damage to the body.
The decomposition wouldn't bones that clean, at least not when she would have found him. I don't know how long ago he died, because there was
They didn't take his clothes off. If they were going to eat him, they didn't take his clothes off. He's dressed. The skeleton is dressed. Like, they didn't rip his clothes off.
I'm not saying the goat ate him. I don't believe that either. I don't know.
He didn't die of anything. Even his teeth, like, they didn't even break one of his teeth. His teeth are perfect. Like, he didn't die of anything. He just fell down and was dead, apparently. Because Rams. He had a fully loaded gun. There's no, like, sheep bones around him, so, like, he didn't take a sheep with him. So he didn't even try to use his fully loaded gun to, like, scare the sheep off or something. Like, if you had a fully loaded gun and you were surrounded by sheep about to kill you, wouldn't you at least unload the gun, like, and see if you could scare them off or something like that?
I don't think those sheep would have been scared off by gunshots.
I don't think so either. But if all that's left is you, immobilized, and a gun, you shoot your gun. Even if it's not likely, you have nothing else to do. Like, you can let them kill you, or you can see if you can scare them off. You would at least unload your gun. That's what I'm saying.
Random idea. This is a random idea and probably less likely, but I'm gonna shoot it out anyway. What if he was like running around? Well, he or she, we don't know what gender the person was, but what if this person was running around this entire field trying to find a way out, or like that? It was just running around, well, not running around, like, but in the Jeep, running it, and possibly looking for a way out, and that's probably how it landed where it was. And because the shin was broken, maybe they just starved to death.
He just starved to death. He couldn't move at all, so he just got out, and the sheep that were chasing him just said, "We're just going to let you starve."
Well, I'm pretty sure he didn't get out. Or something.
He's out of the fucking van.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he got out himself. It's possible that when he did finally pass out, that's when he fell out. There's no way that a car, you can actually.
So what you think is he died, and after he died, he rolled all that way away from his Jeep.
He wasn't all that way from his Jeep. He was
with
just
a gun,
like,
with a gun in his hand, and when he rolled, the gun stayed in his hand.
He wasn't all that far from his link. He was just a step away. Literally.
Look at 945. He's a good 4 feet away from his van, his Jeep.
No longer in my watch history.
Yeah, I'm done with the show too, but we still got to talk about it.
No, it's not, I can't. Like, it's not in my watch history anymore. It literally disappeared, and I didn't do that. It just disappeared once I finally watched the last episode.
When we're done with that, we're going to talk about how Kino got that Jeep back up on the road that's 2 tires off into the ravine. the really badly animated Jeep with the window that like you can't see through in the front.
I think you have too high like expectations.
Look, if Dragon Ball Super fans can be mad about episode 5, I can be mad about how bad this is.
I feel like in episode 5, those legitimate animation errors, I'm not seeing any of those here.
Bouncing CGI sheep that can, when you do hit a sheep, if it's going to bounce that far, there's at least some blood or some damage or some disfigurement. They're not just generic like clip art flying through the air sheep. Rams that we're going to call sheep.
Like that's an exaggeration. I feel like you could fall out, and that's the distance your body would be. Natural gravity. So that door being closed is... What's that door? Is that after her?
Yeah, if you're getting run down by sheep, let's talk about that real quick. If you're getting run down by sheep and you're jumping out of the car to take your last stand before they kill you with a gun that you're not going to use, that you have in your hand but you're apparently not going to use, because apparently, according to Jeremy, because the gun probably wouldn't work, he probably didn't fire it. He just held it in his hand. Maybe because the sheep know what guns are, and he thought holding it menacingly in his hand would scare them. Maybe that's why he has the gun out, right, Jeremy? Not because he should have fired it, and it's a plot hole that he didn't. And he has ammo in his gun. Let's talk about the fact that when he got out, he apparently closed the door because the door of the Jeep isn't open, and they're not just trying to save money on animation.
I'm still here. I'm just not saying anything.
I'm trying to have a civilized conversation about how terrible this is.
I mean, this isn't me just, again, like, as you apparently assume sometimes, like, I'm just trying to be, like, no, like, I legitimately enjoyed this episode. To me, there was, like, I had no real, like, I picked out a few things that I found really strange, but for me, it's, like,
you know what was really strange? That the Jeep just happened to have everything she needed to make a jump ramp. That was strange.
I didn't find that part strange, though. I guess now I think about it, I probably should have. Whatever. Again, I think for me, it's like I'm not as offended by any of this. I think as you, because you like this show.
I liked past tense the show, yes.
Like, but like, I guess for me, it's just like I can see your anger, but at the same time, I'm just not. Maybe it's because I expend my anger within evolution, and I'm not gonna get into that. But I could see your issue. Like maybe they shouldn't have called this show Kinos Journey. I don't know what they would have called it. But I still think there's a
This
decent...
Sucks, Don't Watch It.
This is a decent show. I feel like this is a decent show.
This Sucks, Don't Watch It would have been a good name for this show.
Everybody could have their opinion. This is like, I think the episode was fine. To me,
It wasn't even bad. Nestle up against Hermes and go to sleep.
Bad. That's what I was trying to say. The fucking sheep.
The fucking sheep nestle up against Hermes and go to sleep.
Wasn't even bad.
The fucking sheep.
This wasn't
the homicidal sheep.
Wasn't even bad.
I'm watching the action scene again, starting at 11 minutes. Kino is barreling through. The Rams see Kino and get up and start charging headlong, suicide, like Lord of the Rings orcs attacking style at Kino.
Would this is fiction make this any better?
I'm gonna keep it. Shut up. I'm gonna keep animating. I'm gonna narrate this as it goes. Okay. The sheep are running directly at her. Rams. The horned, fast-moving like monsters are running at Kino, who's running through like this is an actual highway and not off-roading like crazy. That would be very damaging up to a Jeep to go this fast. But we're gonna give that a pass because there's so much other stuff to talk about here. And the sheep are actually literally flying off like it's a meme and it's supposed to be absurd. They are flying into the air, completely uninjured looking, but flying into the air with no damage, no disfigurement, no blood, no tears, just bouncing into the air like beach balls. Exactly how as I described it, 11:10. Bounce, and they hit the ground and they bounce again. And they don't just bounce. The one at 11:12 is bouncing like a good 8 to 10 feet in the air in the background as Kino sticks her head out and talks to Hermes. We're talking like airtime bounce here. Like and it's not disfigured or anything. It's just hit the ground and it bounced up in the air like a beach ball. Exactly like a beach ball. There's not even a scratch on her fucking Jeep. Even a bulletproof Jeep would be damaged by now. Like, yeah, they're flying up. There's at least 2 Jeep heights above the Jeep right now. Hang on. At 11:22, you can see one flying in the air, and it's like 2 Jeep heights above the Jeep. And the Jeeps, not even the headlights are breaking. They're just bouncing. Oh, one of them. Okay, this was interesting. One of them, I didn't look at this closely enough last time. I'm going to watch again. One of them actually hits the Jeep and disappears. Like the animators just decided he's not in the show anymore. And he disappears. You're really letting me go here. I don't know if you're like muted and laughing at me or you're just biting your tongue or what.
I'm just letting you go. I mean, I've already said, like, this is fiction. I think for me, I'm more lenient on letting some things go or if I don't see them.
They're bouncing. They're bouncy little sheep in the background. Pew, 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 pew,
And this is
pew,
fiction.
pew.
How many times I gotta say it?
What?
This is fiction. How many times I gotta say it?
Bad animation doesn't. Why does that matter?
I don't know if like that is bad animation. This is like where this is like okay, this is a legitimate criticism I could have with just in general with people who have nitpicks on some things. I feel like some things are just not what you think they are. People I think have too high of an expectation sometimes of some things. I think this is too high of an expectation because you like the original show more, and you're just watching this and you feel like it's like
I think it's bullshit. I think like the show or not, it's bullshit. Okay, so let's get back to the content here. So then she's sliding, and her slide is also fast enough. Just skidding to the side, like driving sideways, is also fast enough to send these things flying high into the air. Uninjured, of course, but flying high into the air. And she's facing down Hermes, and now they're all cleared out. She's hit so many of these sheep that they're all cleared out. And then they surround it. They surround the Jeep. And it's like the dog that caught the car. Like they can't, the sheep don't know how to hurt Kino now that they've caught her. Like they don't know how to do anything. Even though one ran in the back of the Jeep earlier and she shot it, so the back of the Jeep is open, every single sheep in sight approaches it from the front instead of the back, even though they were chasing it. And none of them, and there's no bodies of sheep, by the way, in the background. They disappear after they bounce. And they are all surrounding the front. They don't try to get into the back. They don't try to get in the sides. They don't even like ram it with their heads now that they've caught up with it. They just stand there and look menacing. And now Hermes is driving again apparently because like the shaking. Yeah, they're just standing there. They're just standing there. And she backs up and they start falling over again. Now they're ramming into the back and they can't get into it, even though they could get it, even though one got into it earlier. They can no longer get into it. That was a magical sheep. Oh, now he's in. One of them got in. Kino shot it. She's backing up, pushing the bodies of sheep. They're all flying off the edge. Now she's laying the oil. The sheep kind of look up confused at the oil, and she's just driving straight through them. They're bouncing all over the place like crazy. I've never had such a good case as to why you should be disagreed with. All right, now apparently she's hit so many sheep that they're all kind of worn out, and they're running out of sheep. So she takes her gun out and starts the magical, like, one that starts fire. She has a bullet that starts fire for reasons. And now they're burning. Every single one lit up. But Kino, in the center of this fire, doesn't burn at all. The fire only goes away from her. Because that's how wildfires work, right? They only go away from where they start, even if there's like a giant, even if there's burnable material in that spot.
They're just burning the oil.
It's burning the oil, but that's how wildfires start. Like, it should be a wildfire fire, not just a circle. And if it's just a circle of fire, why don't the sheep just kind of move out of the way?
Have you seen the circle of fire thing?
Now she's shooting them. Even though, like, at the whole beginning of the episode, she talked nonstop about how she was reluctant to kill any of them, she's massacred almost every single one so far. Just casually, just shooting them. They're not even a threat at this point. They're just kind of like there. You can see the blue sky through the smoke because that's how smoke works. It just keeps to itself. It doesn't disperse and cloud the sky. Now there's bodies everywhere. Sheep are everywhere. They're burned. They're dying. Shit, I pressed the wrong button. There, I'm back. All right, so she has enough time to build what looks like an extremely questionable ramp. Extremely questionable. And of course the ramp works. The ramp that she builds to jump her bike out, it breaks the laws of physics, like straight on. Like there's no reason that ramp should work. All right, I'm gonna skip over some of this now because it's just getting silly. Okay, and that's it. The scene is over. It's the most. I'm reluctant to say this just in case I'm not thinking of something worse, but it might be the worst action scene I've ever seen in anything. And Wand of Gamelon probably has the worst action scene. I'm done for a second.
All I gotta say is, like, there's a show, some shows, move to this one.
Uh-huh.
I, for one, just don't like realism. Does not matter that much. If it's there, it's there. But
So it doesn't
me,
matter what it is
ruins,
as long as it's
it
action
just
scene?
ruins. But here's the listen to me real quick. I've said this before. I don't go to fiction or whatever story like that for realism, because I hate realism when I'm trying to enjoy something. Because I like, real life sucks, and that's what I equate. That's what I always equate realism to, and I always hate that argument because it's always used in anything. Like, why are you watching this? It's not realistic. Like, I don't do any of this stuff for realism. I hate that. I hate that argument.
But it shouldn't be so absurd that
Because real
it
life is
shouldn't be
boring for me.
distractingly absurd though.
Realism is boring for me, because like I know what's gonna happen. Now,
Yeah.
as far as the sheep thing, I don't really care. I mean, I've seen cartoons where this type of thing is, you know, sheep is being bounced everywhere. Like, do sheep really do that? No, of course not. Like, you have to be a legitimate moron to believe that's what sheep do. I'm not sitting here saying I believe that's what sheep actually do, or ran, whatever the heck these things are at this point. I could care less. I legitimately don't really care about this show, and I've been really trying hard to even say that during our review of this show.
Yeah.
I watched it. I watched both of these things. I'm not saying that they're bad. It just, for me, there's just nothing here for me. I've tried to attach myself to something like this, and I know you really care about this show. That's like where I've always been holding my tongue back, because I know you like the show a lot. You really do, and I see that. It's like why I'll hold my tongue on some things I want to say about this show, because like I could legitimately care less, and that is my legitimate opinion on it. Because like when it comes to things like me harping about Hermes back in the original show, you know why I harped on that so much? Because I really wanted to like him, and I really wanted to attach myself to something from this show to really enjoy, but I couldn't because I was expecting a character, and they didn't give me that. They gave me some dumb bike that apparently even in this dumb in the episode prior to the episode 12, They did the same exact dang thing that I hated about Hermes in the first freaking show. He just suddenly
Uh,
starts talking for no reason. Just springs to life. I'm sorry, I could care. You given me nothing throughout this entirety of the show for me to care about. And for me, it's like that last episode we just watched. That was fun. That was probably the most caring I could have actually been about this show in the entire
mhm.
time I've been watching it. And I hate to even sound like this because I really do. I don't like harping on things. I don't like tearing something somebody likes down because I know how that feels. But it's just for me, it's like, I understand this show's mostly about the adventure and about the philosophy and stuff like that, and you enjoy the realism that was brought from this thing. But I also come from a point of view of, like, I live realism my entire life. For me, like, real life's kind of just boring. I said this before. It's like there's really nothing interesting going on in real life.
Mhm.
Um, at least in my opinion, things could change. You never really know. But it's just like when I come to something as a fiction,
Mhm.
I guess I'm suspending my disbelief automatically in some situations. So some things are just not gonna bother me as much. And again,
Okay.
I've seen cartoons, not even just American made cartoons, where they've done this little gag before, where you're running a car into a bunch of sheep. What do they do in that one? They explode different directions, and the sheep are fine. And so was the
Yeah,
vehicle.
if it's fucking Hanna Barbera, you know what I mean, or something like that, fine. But like,
Oh lord, I think we're good.
if it's Hanna Barbera or like Looney Tunes logic kind of show, then fine. But this is not Looney Tunes logic, and that's Looney Tunes logic.
I'm just like, part of me is like, I'm just not as critical of it. 'Cause as long as I'm enjoying as long as I'm
Mhm.
enjoying it and it's not affecting my enjoyment of
Mhm.
something a said show, I'm fine. Like, I mean, that's kind of like why I harp on like Dragon Ball Evolution so much. It's something that I hate the most, and it tries. Like, I enjoyed journey for what it was at the time, but it's like when I go to something like Dragon Ball, something I actually do care about. That's why I could understand, yeah, why you are harping on it. It's just for me, it's one of those things like I hate to be dismissive, which is probably what I am being, and I apologize for that. But
You're fine. You're fine. It's okay.
like,
I'm not
no,
upset with you or anything like that. Like we're fine to disagree.
no, it's not that. I just want to say, like, I don't want to be dismissive, and I know I was being dismissive, and I shouldn't be like that. Um, like, I understand why you don't like this show, and like that's the best way I can equate it is Evolution and how much I despise it. I probably
Can I
just
give you a little more context on what's so upsetting about this to me?
other than that you really love this show and you taught it in school. There's something else going on that I don't know about.
The last episode is like, do you know what a crescendo is?
Uh, like the last possible best, I guess, ending. I wouldn't really know the exact explanation, but
A
the finale,
crescendo, let me look up the definition, make sure I'm using the right.
like a send off.
The loudest point in a gradually increasing sound. The highest point reached in a progressive increase of intensity.
Mm-hmm.
So, like when something gets louder and louder or more and more intense until it hits its most intense point. This episode, in some ways, to me, was like the crescendo, a crescendo instead of a finale. What we have is like this sort of creative winding down with the last few episodes, because there's some episodes in this that I kind of liked. We had it just seemed like they were sort of like out of steam, but they had to make more episodes. Like, so they're like, all right, by episode 9, they're like, let's just kind of like slap some miscellaneous ideas together and call it various countries. And they had sort of miscellaneous episodes with some miscellaneous shit. And it's the last time you see Shiko, Rizu, and T and the Master. So like, Shiko, Riku, and T don't have anything else to their story. They're just sort of like this aimless thing that happened in Kino's journey. Like you kind of know that they got together and that was it, and like there's no payoff for that. Not the end of the world, but it's like this is a crescendo, so this is where it starts. You know what I mean? Like they just sort of drop down some stuff that didn't quite make the cutting room floor. You know, that like they scraped some stuff off the cutting room floor to make an episode out of it. That they thought was good enough. If they pieced it all together, they could Frankenstein something together and make like one episode out of a bunch of stuff that they had left over. Kind Country, um, was a good episode for the most part. but it was very strongly a remake of an episode that already existed. You know what I mean? Like, I talked about how I thought it was a lesser version of the episode that they remade, but it was a very direct remake of an episode, a story that's already been told in the previous Kino's Journey. So people coming to the new Kino's Journey that were fans of the old one, like, are sitting through that one because completionism. You know what I mean? Like, they don't. There's no real motivation. Like, we knew anyone that saw the original and was a fan of this, or is like knew what was going to happen. And this version, in my opinion, is just not quite as good as the other version. It lacked a lot of the depth, and because they put it in front of Land of Adults, it also lacked the depth of her connection to Lily, because she was lived very similarly to Lily. You know what I mean? I think that adds a lot of depth to the episode, that Kino had so much in common with her, the girl that died there, that she seemed to like so much. So putting those out of order was a weakening point, and there were some other things about Kind Country that I thought were a weakening point. Country of Adults is a good episode, except that it is an almost a one-to-one remake of the one from the original anime. And you probably don't remember it very well, but it's almost a one-to-one remake. I actually like episode 11 more than the OG, which is the only time that I can say that. I like how they handled that episode more than the original Kino's Journey episode of the same type, but it is almost a one-to-one remake. So there's this feeling that they're running out of originality. They've slapped together a bunch of shit for an episode. They've done 2 remake of episodes that already existed. And then, like, the final episode, fucking Fields of Sheep, would, like, just something that just is nothing like what anything in Kino, not the like novel, not the manga, not the original Kino's Journey anime. It's nothing like any of that stuff. It just completely breaks the brand of Kino's Journey. You like it because you're not invested in the brand of Kino's Journey, but for the people that have read the manga, the light novel, or seen the original anime, or any of that stuff, and have followed this, are absolutely going to be disappointed. People that are the type of people that get mad about how badly animated Dragon Ball was in the early episodes are going to be mad about this because they feel ripped off by crappy animation, like their time was wasted. There's so many things about this episode that are like, I looked up to see what people's thought about this, and I read some reviews of this episode. I can get over the fact that they're sheep. Like, a lot of people thought that fighting sheep was too stupid. I don't mind that really that much, and I minded it even less when I found out that there was like a story rationale for it, and it wasn't just random sheep. Then I was like, okay, they bred these to be fighting sheep, and it looks like they bred them a little too well, and maybe they're a little too smart for their own good, and they've colonized and they hate people for a justifiable reason. So it's not just a random ass piece of thing. Like, I forgive the episode for the sheep. I think the sheep part was fine, the fighting sheep. But after 2 remake episodes that are pretty much the same story that's already been told, one miscellaneous hodgepodge of an episode, the disappointment of never finding out anything else about Shizu and T, like, I thought they were bringing them up for a reason, and I was like, I don't like that this story is no longer Kino's journey and about Kino, but like, I'm at least here to see, like, learn a little bit more about Shizu and T, who I found intriguing in the original anime. To see them just kind of like give up on that, and like, when they could have used these episodes to tell new stories and do that, you know, that stuff with the things that they were getting us to care about, is disappointing from an animation standpoint, even if you didn't care about Kino's journey. Like, they wasted the characters that they spent episodes building and establishing. And that's kind of it. It's the crescendo. It's just this last episode. No more Shizu and T story. No payoff for that. We've slogged through 3 bad episodes. If you count remakes that don't add anything as bad, even though, like I said, like, the remakes weren't terrible, especially episode 11. And then this is what I fought through to see at the end, to see someone like sheep bouncing in the air like basketballs, and like, in this just completely absurd, poorly put together, poorly thought through action scene that completely breaks the brand of the episode and the consistency of the storytelling. That, like, if you cared about the episode, which you don't, and that's fine. I guess for someone that doesn't care, it's okay. But most people, when they watch an anime, by the time they get to the end of it, if they watched it all the way through, which you wouldn't have done if it wasn't for me, you would have stopped watching this earlier. you expect some sort of payoff and some sort of like continuation of the feel, and hopefully the best episode is the last episode, because sometimes it is, you know, with Cowboy Bebop or Trigun, like the best episode was debatably the last episode, but you got which I think was the worst episode. It's so bad that I skipped over 11 because I wanted to talk about this one first while we had plenty of time, because I didn't want to get into a debate about something in episode 11 and have to summarize like last time. I wanted to talk about how bad this was. It's just my computer telling me I need to free up storage space.
I was listening.
And then, if I can just add another thing, throw in another thing moment here. And then it's like they didn't even have a full episode to talk about here. And they're like, we've got like 4.5 minutes of animation left to fill. What are we going to do? And they have Kino take a nap and talk about how her adventure's over, only to wake up after the credits and say her adventure has begun again.
I will say that did tick me off. Probably not in the
We
way
had to
that
watch her take a fucking nap, like after like everything else. And she doesn't even go in the country. She just goes out and sets up a sleeping, whatever, what they call a hammock. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
She goes in there. I think that hammock thing was just days after she's been in there. I think she makes
Probably.
mention that she was in there. But like,
right, and the country is not important, but it's just like, I don't know.
That did tick me off, but not in the way that it ticked you off. What it ticked me off, how it ticked me off was, it was done in a way that kind of insults the players, I mean, not the player, but it kind of insults the viewers' intelligence a little bit, because what that does is that it seems like it sets up for a season 2 that it never got, because like we're in 2025. The way it was laid out before they decided to have her get up and then go on another adventure that we'll never see.
Yeah,
it made it seem like they were setting up for a season 2, but because we're watching this so late, we know that it didn't get one. And as far as I know, it doesn't. There's no plan for it. But I feel like that's an insulting to a viewer's intelligence. Now, I will say, I was harping on the whole, I don't care. I shouldn't have probably laid it out like that. It's more of like, I was unable to attach myself to anything really of any real value in the show. And for me, Hermes was probably the most valuable. And I was harping, like, I felt like I was kind of just screwed out of enjoying something, because like I feel like Hermes probably for me would have been an enjoyable bit, because he is in every episode, well, except for this reincarnation, whatever. But then we get to episode 11, which I was not aware. I was kind of curious if this was a remake. I wasn't sure, because I was watching it. I was like, I wonder, like, maybe I'll learn more about this. He'll remember. But so it was a 1-to-1 creation. But that makes me even more upset, because that means I was right about the whole I got nothing from it again. I will say, I think this explanation that Hermes just comes to life was not something that was said in the original. I guess it was just kind of infirmed that he just straight up just comes to life, but I wasn't aware of that. So when they said that he just kind of springs to life if he's in there, like, then okay. But that upset me more than anything else in that episode, and I think that's kind of where episode 11 kind of falls for me in terms of just something I could enjoy. Because again, Hermes brings it down for me, because I'm expecting a character, because he is a character, but he doesn't get to be one. Like the points of his, like, even his voice kind of sounding human, as you saying that you didn't exactly enjoy, because you rather enjoyed the robotic kind of disengaged voice. I would have enjoyed that too if he was a character, but even then they kind of neuter him in a way, like in both instances, because it's like in the original he's a robot, and the new one he's kind of like a little child. But like, to me, it's like the reason why I do harp on Hermes, even if it's a joke at this point that I'm harping on a bike. But it's just like, I want to enjoy Hermes, because I feel like he's probably the one part that will help me, and he has helped me, ironically, as a bike throughout the entirety of the thing. You know, I couldn't move on without him being a part of the show. But it's just like, to me, he should have had more about him. And to me, I'm upset that story-wise, it seems like to me, if I was the creator of the show, all I really created Hermes for was just to
Uh-huh.
have a vehicle for Kino to. How did she get around from place to place? It doesn't make sense how she's just walking. Oh, let's give her a bike that talks as a companion. That's it. You don't have to think about anything else. It doesn't have to
Uh-huh.
be a character. So like for me trying to attach myself to something, I couldn't attach myself to anything. I couldn't attach myself to Kino because like she's even in both instances is very detached. And I get that the show isn't really about her because you already said this before over and over again. The show isn't really about her.
She's
She's
supposed to be a non-character. Yeah, it's supposed to be like she's supposed to be a sounding board for a story that you're being told.
But for me, sometimes for me to get into something, I need a character in the world to
Mhm.
care about. It's a part of the reason like why I like some shows, like why I like My Hero Academia. Deku was a
Uh-huh.
character I was able to attach myself to, and on top of that, My Hero did something even better for me, which is something I wasn't even expecting. It gave me other characters to care about. I actually like that. So like back to talking about this show, like you talk about Shizu and all like those characters are cool. Actually, yeah, I'm disappointed that they didn't get any more screen time. I really am. I really am because I think
If they're gonna give that much screen time, they should have owned it. You know what I mean? That's what I felt.
I had an idea for a character for actually an episode they could have used him for, and I feel like honestly, what the episode was dealing with the kingdom of adults. I think
Uh-huh.
for me, this show would have been a lot more better if we had a lot more like what happened after Kino visited these towns, and they could have easily used Shizu for that. They actually did do that like once after
Uh-huh.
Kino visited a town. They had him show up. So like, it would have been
Right.
kind of cool for Shizu to show up at the place where Kino showed up. I mean, where Kino came from, just to see like
Yeah,
what that
you
town
know,
is doing. They could have easily done that. I thought about that when I was watching. I was like, they could have really used him for the kingdom thing. I think for me, I would have enjoyed it a lot more if there was a lot more after there was more stakes involved. I don't need. And I guess I should say, for people say he only cares about muscle-headed crap. No, I don't. For crying out loud, I like all kinds of freaking shows. It's just for me, it's like I need something I need something to interest me enough for me to keep coming back. And I feel like aftermath of what happened to these places would have actually been enough of a hook. Like, oh, so we're gonna see before and after. That would have been a cool little addition. Like, I mean, she just show up after years after Kino left because Kino would have been she's a teenager looking at her, so she was like a little girl when she was there. So it would have been a long time, and it would have been kind of interesting to see the kingdom is still, the country is still, I honestly think that they would still be like working the way that they were when Kino was there, which is like turning kids into adults. Which I want to say about that, because you probably know more about that than I do, or remember this more. Was it
uh-huh.
ever was it insinuated in the original of this episode that well, actually, this is 1-to-1, so this wasn't any. But was it always insinuated that, like, I'm guessing it sounds like they take the brains out of the children and put them in the bodies that are adults?
They open up your head and they take out the part of you that is. It sounds like some sort of stylized lobotomy to me, especially when you see how like unable the people are to think for themselves. When she's like, "Hey, could I perhaps not have this?" and they're like, "We have to kill you." It sounds like some sort of like level of like really sophisticated lobotomy.
I guess I can't because when I was thinking about it, what it sounded like to me,
They don't
because
explain it in the original one either, but in the original one they give you even less details, so you're just like you can kind of like they don't show you inside of the place, for example, that where you're being brainwashed or initiated or whatever, like they do in this one, that red area that they were in, and they just show a tower off in the distance. In this one, the tower's in the middle of the city, and it's much more present. But they give you a little bit less detail, which they're giving you almost none in this one too, about like what happens. They just say they that's where you go to become an adult, and they take the child out of you. And I don't think they necessarily even say open your head. I can't remember.
well, yeah, they've been decently open here, but what the words that this is
In
like
the
more of an
original one,
insinuation.
though, in the original one from 10 years before or whatever,
Oh,
I don't know if they I don't know if they straight up say that. I think they just tell you that's where you go to have the adult taken out of you, and
oh,
it sounds like it could be a combination of medical and psychological or something with that one.
but
It's not. It's less clear.
the way I was taking information in, because like I was just taking everything in my brain just so that I can understand. Because like for me, what it sounded like to me, and I'm probably wrong, but it sounded like to me what's really going on is like it seems like they take the brain out of the child and put it into a body, but at the same time, when I think that I can't go past it because like, how are they
Where'd
making
they
the
get the body
bodies
from?
then?
Yeah.
But at the same time, what my problem is like when they tell you they open the brain up and then you wake up suddenly in the body of an adult, that doesn't make any sense. Because
Uh,
there's no way like that means like at least from that concept that means whatever they take from your brain, this specialized lobotomy, you suddenly age up, like you suddenly just grow up immediately, and I'm like, that's even more ridiculous
but,
than the
you know, there's no teenagers in that world that you see. Like everybody's either a full adult or a Kino age. In the original one too, there were no teenagers. Everybody was either Kino's age, like child age, or a full-grown adult in that episode. In either episode, they just never like discuss what might have happened there with teenagers and stuff.
yeah. I mean, this isn't to harp on anything about the episode, but it's just more like for me, I'm trying to figure out because I think I even had the same thought
It
process
makes
back
no sense at all.
when
It
they
makes no sense.
like in the original when I was watching it too. I think I had this exact same process, but I didn't vocalize. I was like, how is it working? Because again, yeah, it
Yeah.
does sound like they take something out of the child's brain, but as you said before, it doesn't make any sense because like what they're insinuating is that when they take this, when they pluck this grape, I'm what I'm gonna call it, when they pluck this grape, they suddenly get older. Because again, there is no teenagers like you said. There's only kids or adults, and apparently, they can't be taking they can't be taking um their reproductive organs at any point either, because
Mhm.
like they're having children naturally. From the sounds of it, they're having children naturally. But it just seems kind of weird, like you said before. Is like, how does that's what I was like thinking, like they had to be taking their brains out of their bodies and putting them, but then I get stuck where how are they producing these bodies? Like, are they making these things? Which I guess it's possible that that's what they're doing, but probably less likely because there'd be a lot more of a mess. But
Mhm.
at the same time, it's like I think there's still a mess when you're saying that they're gonna go in to take the child out of you. I don't know what when like I guessing what I would need to know is like if there is anything in science fiction that even is remotely close to the idea of this is controlling. I was thinking, but are they taking out the pituitary gland? But no, you need that to get older and age up and whatever. That's what you need. But then again, they're also feeding these children these like weird candy things, and this like very, very like advent calendar kind of like situation, like where during the last week before their birthday, they eat these candies like once a day. So I was like, a part of me was like, man, there's something going on with those candies. And it's like I don't understand how this is working with their growth, but I'm guessing there's something going
To see
on.
her offer it. I wanted to see her offer some of her candy to Kino and see like what he did about it, and I was disappointed when she didn't.
Did you do that in the original?
No, I wanted to this. I liked the reason I liked this version is because I liked how they treated this the original Kino more than in the first series. I liked this. I liked that this Kino had so much more personality and everything else than the original Kino. Although he did give off child molester. Like what traveler goes into a strange city and walks directly up to the first little girl he sees and talks to her about where he can stay? It gave off child molester a little bit, but if you could get over that, like I liked his personality a lot more than the original Kino.
Like maybe he's just awkward. I sometimes hate when like when you say child molester because not everybody who
If
has
you describe the situation on paper without it being an anime and ask somebody what they thought about this guy, and you were like, all right, so he comes into this city, he's a stranger in the area, calls himself a traveler, but nobody knows him. He goes straight up to this little girl and starts talking to her about where he can stay. A little girl brings him home, and he then spends an awful lot of time talking to her and spreading his ideas about what he thinks about things to her. It's spent a lot of time with that little girl. That's all I'm saying. I don't think he's a child molester, but it gave off a weird vibe for a little bit for me. I was like, I wish they'd kind of been a little farther away from that feel. That's all.
man, I guess I can understand, but at the same time, it's like, well, I mean, this is the Kino that we know that that grows up to be the girl that we do see in the future. So like the amount of time that he was spending with her, I think makes a little sense. Um, I also will say that at least when I was looking at this guy, I feel like in the original one, the Kino's emulated look was way closer to his look. I look at this guy, I'm like, I can understand what the girl was going for, but it
Uh-huh.
still doesn't really look all that close to him. Like I understand the look that she was going for, but it
Well, in
really
the
wasn't
original one,
all
she
that.
literally wears his jacket and stuff too. Like she originally literally takes on his clothing. In the new one, she's not quite doing that to that level.
So like I can understand what they were trying to do. It's one of those things like I could just. He didn't cut off enough hair, in my opinion. Like it wasn't spiky enough. Maybe that was the point. Maybe if she had cut it off at some point, we don't see what she looks like after she does cut her hair the first time when she's younger. But I suspect
Yeah.
that happens when she gets to her master. I suspect that's when she gets to her in the first place.
Yeah, I don't think she's. I don't think in the new series she's trying to look at it like him at all. She doesn't look. I'm looking at him and I'm looking at her at the beginning of the episode. She doesn't look like him at all in this one, in my opinion.
But like I like episode 11. It's just like for me, it's like it just bringing up bad memories of of me freaking out over Hermes again. I'm like it's just one of those like I will say I don't think they make mention of the original that he just kind of springs to life. So like, I guess I'm like okay, I guess I can accept that. I'm not happy about it, but like I guess it is what it is.
He spends a long time fixing up, the remains of something that are outside of the building that nobody else knows how to do and thinks is junk. So it's clearly not of this land. You know what I mean? Because everybody else thinks it's junk, and he's like, "No, this isn't junk. I can fix this up in a day." So it's clearly something they don't understand, and it's not from around there. To me, like he found something that doesn't belong there that he's fixing up, probably from another country.
I mean, I guess I just like maybe I spent too much time trying to attach myself to the bike. Maybe I don't know. It was one of those things like I was looking for something and say, okay, this bike could be something I could like try to like. Mm. And it's not like I didn't find anything else to like about the show. It was just like I was trying to like this is gonna be my focal point. Everything else around it was gonna be okay. I mean, I like the moving town. I guess we can talk about the show in general, but I like the moving town. I thought that was really neat. That there was just like this town on treads, not town, country. Sorry. Though I feel like a country is much bigger than half these places that Kino mentioned. But I'm not gonna get into that. Um, I like the country with those on wheels. The the kind one. I think the kind one was that the town of murderers or
Yeah, that was a town where murder was legal.
okay? So that was interesting, albeit freaky. Interesting. Um, the Coliseum was interesting.
Yeah,
The way it ended was really
I
weird,
liked
but
the original anime's Coliseum better. I liked the puzzle of every enemy that Kino fought, where she had to she almost treated it like a puzzle, where she was like, "How am I going to kill this guy? How am I going to defeat this person without having to kill them?" And I liked that she had to find that solution for everybody, and that was kind of like a fun action concept, in my opinion. In this one, she seems like she's more aggressive in the fightings. I don't know. I didn't hate it. I just, if I had to pick one, I liked the way it was approached in the other one. It also had that sort of Naruto, like tournament feeling to it, where like I feel like that's how Naruto kind of deals with their tournaments, and I like the tournament fighting situations in Naruto.
I guess fun fact about the tournament in Naruto,
Uh-huh.
you're pronouncing it.
Uh-huh.
I think it was the Genin, not the Genin exam, the Chunin exams you're referring to. Uh, Apparently, fun fact for anybody who doesn't know this about that arc. Um,
Uh-huh.
part of the reason why there was so many characters involved in it, Kishimoto did not want to do that thing. He didn't want to do it. I don't know how it was. I don't know how it was in there. And I think Kishimoto wasn't the one that did it either. A lot of the character interactions that they're all over the internet. Rock Lee versus Scar and all that stuff. That wasn't. I don't think that was him.
Yeah.
They know somebody else in his company that did that. I found that interesting. It was either that or he just didn't like. At first, he didn't want to do it because like he had to make so many other characters and he had to all make them good, which is I guess based on the fact that what follows afterwards with the show kind of speaks a lot of volumes. It's not bad. It's just that Rock Lee, that fight ends with Rock Lee pretty much breaking his body. Well, not breaking his body, like Gara just crushed his arm and his leg, and apparently at that point it was said that Rock Lee could never be a ninja again. But then what precedes that is that Rock Lee has to, like Naruto goes out and to find find a ninja who can heal him, and he ends up stumbling upon Tsunade. That's a whole different thing. But pretty much he's healed, but then after that, Rock Lee kind of spends a lot of the show not really being there. He has a couple of scenes that he shows up in. It's revealed that apparently he's susceptible to like getting drunk and using what they call the loopy fist. It's a drunken fist. I don't know why America wanted to sanitize that, but whatever. Basically we found out that Rock Lee apparently he got drunk one time and tore up a bar. That was kind of funny. But yeah, Rock Lee's presence isn't like after the tournament. Rock Lee's kind of just not there, and I know a lot of people are very upset about that.
That's sad. Rock Lee might be my favorite.
Because Rock Lee was in a tournament, and then after that, nearing the end of Naruto Part 1, or like they time skipped to when they were like older. Rock Lee was a part of the Sasuke retrieval arc. But actually, how they kind of did it was that they sent out 4 ninja, including Naruto, to go after Sasuke. Rock Lee wasn't one of them. At some point, like Rock Lee is brought in to fight an enemy, so Rock Lee gets to fight again nearing the end of the show. And he actually kind of fights alongside Gara too. So there's this kind of thing that reconciliation kind of going on between Rock Lee and Gara nearing the end of the show.
Yeah,
I think if you want to see that fight, that is Rock Lee and Gara versus Kimimaru. And you'll find you'll find out when if you're at the right one, when there's a dude with bones protruding from his body.
Okay.
Like, I mean, if you want to see that fight, since you like Rock Lee, that's a good fight. That's a good showcase of Rock Lee after his fight with Gara.
I watch the fight scenes on YouTube. I don't watch the series, but like I like to watch the actual fight scenes. But I like the idea in the episode that we watched of Kinos' journey that like treated them like enemies more like puzzles. You know what I mean? And like I felt like that was the vibe that I got from it, was like the Kinos opponents in the Coliseum episode were puzzles and in the original, and it wasn't really captured by the new series in the same way, in my opinion. So, I don't know. I liked that about that. Like when she was like, "How am I going to save this guy's life?" Every single time she met them. Anyway, yeah, it's the early episode. I found that there was a correlation between the episodes and this goes back to what I was saying. The earlier the episode was, the more I liked it. Like when I first started watching this with you, I was like, maybe these aren't as bad as I thought. Like I said, I didn't remember it being this good. I think I even said to you at one point. And the early episodes were, and there was really a drop off. And like I just watched while we were talking, I watched the last 3.5 minutes to 4 minutes of Kino's journey when she's laying on the hammock. There's almost no animation. It's almost voice actors over a still picture that they're just kind of pulling back from.
Probably.
No, if you watch it, like they have a little blade of grass coming and a ladybug come out of it. And one point her hand moves. And I think at one point she grabs a bite of something or a drink or something, but there's almost no animation in the last 3.5 to 4 minutes of the episode while she's laying in that hammock. There's not, the clouds don't move. Like it would have been a nice detail maybe if the clouds were slowly moving over her head or something. The clouds stay in place. It's just a still image. It's like they ran out of money. like for animation, and they still had a contract to fill, and they just started putting whatever in.
I don't know. That's a bad thing. I mean, I guess for me, it's like again, it's one of those things. Like I'm just like, it's not.
Did you really want to see a still image of Kino like talking to Hermes for 4 minutes? Because that's would be very difficult to pull off well.
I can't say I wanted that. I'm just saying that I just.
And I didn't notice partially because I was so disinterested at this point that I looked away and was doing other things on my computer. I had to sit down and watch it just now for the first time because I couldn't watch it last. I wasn't interested, and I just like looked at other things, and I'm like, then I was looking and I'm like, does she really not move? Because I skipped around a couple times, and then I watched it and I'm like, oh, it's like they show a second where Ladybug's on a leaf for a second, and that's like pretty much it.
I'm not saying I just like it's something I wanted. It's just like I just didn't. It doesn't affect me as like vehemently as it does you. There's a lot of the other problems that you are finding, like, or like, even like you complaining the sheep are too movable or they're flying around. It's just for me, it's just like it doesn't bother me. And I could argue maybe
One
like,
thing that bothers me about it is that the animation, other than the sheep, the way that sheep are like treated, the animation is really nice in the episode. Like the way they draw that ravine, for example, and the water and like the sun coming down over the ravine and stuff, that's really cool. It's just, but it's for me, it was like so bad watching the sheep bounce around like that like it ruined how nice the rest of the animation was, because they do really take some time to get some great animation in that episode.
I think maybe it was like I'm not all that bothered by CGI. Honestly, I guess personal preference, just honesty about CGI in general.
Yeah.
Would I prefer it, or like would I prefer it or not? I would almost prefer it not being used, because I mean I will say that there is a history of CGI in anime not being good. Um, I hate to go back to Dragon Ball, but Dragon Ball Super kind of used it. And I think as a part of why some of that like earlier Dragon Ball Super anime was just bad. Not only that, but they also were reanimating a movie that didn't need to be reanimated. If you really wanted to see the beginning portions of that arc or whatever, you just could have found uh, Battle of the Gods, and then also found Frieza stuff, and would have been perfectly fine starting up where they started, which I think was the Zamasu stuff, which was like the first new information or anything they did for that show, period. But like back to Kino, um, I guess it's like for me, it's like I wasn't all that bothered by the CGI sheep. Like now, like would have been cool for them to add a little bit more to them, possibly. But it's possible that that like studio, who I think their name is Kudaka, like Kadalk. Well, I forgot the name. I watched other shows by them. They're really good and decent. Um, maybe they're just not all that used to using CGI animals or something like that. I couldn't tell you. Because of sometimes
The sheep themselves aren't even that bad. It's just the way that they interact with the Jeep and stuff that really bothers me. The sheep themselves, like I can accept that for the most part. It's just the way they're moving, and it's the way they're moving. The sheep as a still image is not that bad. It's the way they move, and especially the way they interact with the Jeep.
that's not really all that bothered with it. And it's not like I'm sitting here saying like Looney Tune logic is bad or good. I just wasn't all that bothered because I've seen this type of scene before, and
Yeah.
maybe it's because you don't want to see it in anything but a Looney Tunes cartoon. And like while I was like, I could make the argument like, yeah, maybe that's where it should stay. But I rarely find myself watching Looney Tunes stuff anymore anyway. So I'm thinking what it really for me is like, I'm just kind of looking past it, because it's like I don't really find it as like as rude as I would find something else. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I guess like I don't know, because like based on the way I react to how jarring it is in my One Punch Man, you think I would find this aggravating, but no, this isn't really a change in animation style. They're just kind of moving around like an object in 3D space. Maybe they shouldn't be, but at the same time, it's like, is that really bothering me? And maybe if I was a lot more in tune with using actual sheep interacting with things, maybe. I can't even say that for certain. I can't even say that for certain. I don't know. If I don't think the few were just that obtrusive to me or bothering when interacting with the Jeep.
Yeah.
Would I like again? Would I be against realism? No. It's just for me. It's just like I'm coming into the episode, just watching it, trying to take out what I can enjoy and move on from there.
Mhm.
The sheep bouncing on the sheep was just not a concern for me.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. I don't have a lot more to say about it, but it just, as a season finale, it was disappointing.
I can see it. Like I said before, I understand that you prefer the original. You probably will go back and watch the original now to watch the taste of the show out of your mouth. But I mean, I think everybody's got their own, like it seems like for a lot of people, you're not the only one who doesn't like this remake. When I can tell, so you're not the only
Mhm.
one. Your criticisms are valid. I just want you to know that like
Oh, you validated me.
that's not what I meant to do. But whatever.
You made me
You have
feel important.
a valid. You have like people from everywhere else seem to share your same criticism about it, and they might be Kinos Journey fans. And I will say to the Kinos Journey fans that I come across this later on, please don't hate me by the end of this. I'm just trying to be as like open minded to remakes in general, because like I understand some things when they get remade are sometimes bad, and sometimes they're really good. And a perfect example of this for anybody who is aware of the Fullmetal Alchemist stuff, really watch Brotherhood, because if you watch the original one and you're upset with the way the original one ended, Brotherhood fixes all that because it adapts everything from the source material. That's always a good thing
Yeah.
in my book. But yeah, I'm gonna say I was like, good. I enjoyed this show. Will I watch it again? Probably not. That's not because I don't. That's not because I think it's bad. It's just it ain't for me. Um,
Yeah.
while I enjoy the colors and stuff like that, because I feel like what I guess one thing I didn't bring up was like episode 11 really used color well, because it seems like when it came down to Kino being in her hometown, it was all gray in there. I wasn't all that bothered by it because it seemed like the grays were different tones, so like it didn't seem like it was like one flat image. I enjoyed that. So when they came out and all the green, the vibrant green, which you complained about in the first episode, kind of just started coming out and it started filling her eyes in the blue sky, I was like, oh, that's a good use of color. If they could have done that in the original one, I think I would have appreciated it better.
Yeah, I know, because I liked the Thomas Kincaidness of it, and you liked the bright colors.
It's like wrong with like if I wish that it wasn't
But
just
the Kinos, the original one was an original art style. This one is just like a run of the mill art style. Like there's
no, but what
nothing.
I'm saying is like if they used color better, the art style, I have no qualms with that. I watch anything with different sorts of. I was like, I don't have an issue with that. For me, it's just it's a sepia. It made things kind of just boring, and
Uh-huh.
like when I was looking for any hint of color to brighten the scene up, it just was. I wish I wasn't getting it, and like well, I really kind of wish they didn't need to make the entire show these vibrant colors. They could have just used color in certain areas to really give out the idea that some places in that world are beautiful. Meanwhile, there are very ugly areas. Like they don't have to completely get rid of it. I'm not sitting here
Yeah,
saying make everything a freaking like make everything a Dragon Ball Z cartoon. That's not what I'm saying. Go with what you want to do with that show. But it's like they could have used color so much better in that one. I feel like I would have appreciated it way more. Not everything need to be sepia. Sepia is a
yeah,
good choice, but it's like it's really I don't like looking in a brown paper bag, and that's kind of what I was being reminded of when I was watching it.
yeah. That makes sense, dude. Um, Let me look through my notes, see if there's anything I have left. I tried to get something profound to say about the flower that Kino's named after because they mention it in this one as well. Um, Sakura, if you change it slightly according to ChatGPT, means shill, like which is an insult, but like a really in the United States at least, shill is not a very common insult. But it didn't seem very convincing, ChatGPT. So I don't know if it was just ChatGPT being ChatGPT or if there was really anything to that. Um, the flowers that she's laying in, in the field, because she lays in a field of red flowers in the original too, in episode their equivalent of Country of Adults. ChatGPT said that they might be spider lilies, which in Japan are associated with death, parting in the afterlife. But then I googled, and they sent me to a link that they said apparently in Japanese is someone in Japan theorizing that that's what they are. But if you look at an actual picture of spider lilies, they don't really look anything like in the animation. And there's even some like animated spider lilies in some of the pictures, and they also don't look like them. So I don't know about that, but there are pictures of spider lilies growing in clusters like that. I'll throw a picture of one in Discord for you. Hang on. So when you look at that picture I just sent you of actual red spider lilies, I can see where they're coming from with it. Can't you?
Have to play a good part. I mean, I can see it. I mean, this is kind of ironic because I'm playing Silent Hill right now.
Yeah.
And they're using spider lilies and
Yeah. So the idea would be that she like left. Kino died, and she left the city, and then she fell fell over and landed in a big field of spider lilies that are associated with death, and it was almost like symbolic of her dying and being reborn in her new life as Kino. Do you know what I mean? So she didn't die and become an adult in that way, but she kind of like died and was reborn in her new way of living. So I want to believe that there's no, according to what I read, like they're not identified in any direct way or confirmed by the authors in interviews or anything like that as being anything in particular. But I want to believe that they are spider lilies, because that would be really cool to symbolize how she kind of died that day and came back to life as a new person. Um, I don't know. So I'm reaching there. I can completely understand if you disagree, because when they look close up, they don't really look like the picture. But when you look at a field of them like that, that does kind of look like what was in the anime.
I don't think I mean,
Go ahead.
I just want to say about the spiral lily animation. I think in all animation I've ever seen spiral lilies, I think they're always referred to spiral lilies when they look like this. Any general situation, I don't think they're ever consistently animated the same way. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think them being animated differently it makes them any less of spiral lily. But I will say these are supposed to be poisonous by touch, so anytime I've ever seen them in anime, I always get concerned about like them laying in a field of them. So I
Yeah.
just want to point that out. Like I don't really understand why they do that in the anime, but characters seem to be fine. But continue.
Okay. I'm with you. So anyway, I want to believe that they're spider lilies, and I'm glad that you supported that and you've seen them other ways. Let me think here. Sometimes I wondered this more in the original series than in this one, because you can see the age difference pretty strongly. But sometimes I wondered if her never being an adult in Kino's journey anywhere in either series was a callback to that scene. Like maybe she, because she never had the surgery, she never does fully become an adult in anything. Not as a literal thing, but sort of like a stylistic choice, that they were like, she never had the surgery, so we're never going to write a story where she is an adult. You know what I mean? Again, a little bit of a reach. We're at the end of the series, so I feel like it's okay to reach a little. But I wondered that with the original one, if that's why they chose never to show adult Kino. In this one, they jump around in time so much, and they show the past with the master being young and everything else, that it made me wonder that over again. I'm like, since they seem so comfortable jumping around in time in Kino in general, I wonder if that was a stylistic choice to never make her an adult because she never had the operation.
I don't think so. I think the main reason we don't see it is because I don't think there's ever gonna be a true ending. I shouldn't even say that because I mean they're still writing apparently. This person's still making manga or writing novels, so I suspect at some point maybe it just hasn't crossed this person's mind. But also
Yeah.
to play devil's advocate against that, she was eating a lot of them candies, which before she had left it in the first place, and she just didn't eat one more. She kind of just looked at it and then broke it in half. Didn't do much with it, so I'm assuming she just tossed it on the ground. I don't think she ate it. But again, with the whole idea of her never getting older or whatever like that doesn't make much sense because she became a teenager, and you made a mention that they don't have
Yeah.
teenagers in that village to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's
I
like
get you.
some
You're
of it.
probably you're probably right. It's just something I felt when I was watching it. I was just like, I always wondered if that was a thing, but you're right too. Anyway, I wanted to mention it. I knew it was kind of not right, not correct, but it always sat with me from the original, and it continued to sit with me with this one.
I think there's got to be
Um,
one in the future where she's gonna be older, and maybe that's how they end the show. I don't.
yeah. I thought it was. I don't have a lot to say about this. I thought it was interesting that they waited till the very second to last episode to go over Kino's origins. They do it. They do it about halfway through in the original, and I don't know. I thought it was interesting because in the original one they give you little pieces of her story as they went, and this one they kind of do that, but in a different way. Um, and I think that's. I'm checking the field of sheep to see if there's anything left there. I feel like I beat that sheep dead sheep pretty hard though. Um, oh, I like to say something positive about Field of Sheep. I liked Hermes in that one. I like how funny he was. Um, I really like the dialogue they made for Hermes. I didn't mind that lighthearted element at all. I want that Jeep though. I want a Jeep that can run through all those rams and still be and while off roading and still be fine. So anyway, as critical as I was of Field of Sheep, I feel like I try to be fair. Like I some of the animation was beautiful. The I thought the idea of fighting sheep was just fine, and I disagree with the people that detract from it. Hermes' dialogue was great in that episode. Um, but I think it's a failed episode. So the anime in general, I don't think has failed. I don't think it's great. I think if I had started watching Kino's Journey and this is what I started with, I would have not watched this series. Um, I think you wouldn't have watched it either if it wasn't for me. So I think we both agree that it's not really a full like worth watching all the way through unless you have some sort of investment in it already. And if you have some investment in it already, it is likely to be a frustrating experience. So if someone came up to me and asked me if whether or not they should watch it, I'd say if you're a fan, you're not going to like it. If you're not a fan, you're going to think it's boring.
I don't know if I'm gonna say that. It's probably backtracking some stuff. I don't mean to, but I don't know if I found this one boring. I think for me, this was way more expressive. But also maybe I think what this is coming from is like I have an expectation of like what a I hate to even classify Kino in this way because I don't think Kino really comes classifies as a anime schoolgirl or whatever, or an anime chick in general. Though she is an anime and she is female, she's not supposed to come off like that. She's supposed to be kind of androgynous, supposed to guess until it comes out that she is in fact female. But that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And not that my judgment or was being clouded by that. It was just like I don't know. I feel like I've honestly, if you don't watch the original one and you come to watch this one, I think actually this is not a bad show. Just in general, I think I'm going to take the stance of like what some people like to take the stance of with Dragon Ball Evolution. It just if they weren't calling this title, I think maybe this would have been a decent show to watch for
I
some
wouldn't have
people.
watched it. I wouldn't have watched it.
For some people, maybe if you're not as like I guess invested and you're trying to choose between the one or two,
Yeah.
maybe watch the new one, but then backtrack to watch the old one and see what you think about between the two. Um, as I was saying, what the I found the sepia color tone just kind of boring, but I think it's because I've just been trained to when I see a color and it exhibits an emotion. And typically, what artists kind of do anyway is like when colors typically exhibit emotion, and something that lacks it. Not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's just a style choice that you have to get used to, and it's a style that the original one gave was just like one of those. Is like I understand the reasoning behind it. I understand they wanted to go a certain direction. I applaud them for going through with it, even if I did find it boring because I couldn't get into it. Um, Elements I did like about this show. I mean, Hermes, regardless of how much I harped on the bike thing, and I will say I like the fact that at least when it came to this show in general, when Hermes wasn't present, when he did show up, he kind of contributed to the plot. I
Hmm.
enjoyed that a lot about him, even if he just disappeared. Um, the the springing to life thing, I guess at the same time, it's like I've watched a lot of freaking fiction at this point. Things just spring to life sometimes because this is what they're supposed to do. I guess the
Yeah.
best way to point out is Hermes is kind of just like a fairy kind of thing. I just have to accept that, okay, maybe you're right that for some reason this bike is just technology that, whatever reason, is sitting in their town and no one knows what the heck it does.
Yeah.
Just weird, whatever. Uh, is the explanation. I really would like more, being honest. It's just like, for me, that's not enough. But like, with that being said, like, yeah, if you don't fixate on that, Hermes is a fine character. He's a fine vocal attachment for anybody. I think maybe I was expecting too much, and that's totally my fault. But darn that bike. But no, this is a fine show. I enjoyed some of the some of the episodes I watched. Not like I enjoyed everyone, but I think I enjoyed them for different reasons. Fear did. Um, I think it's fine. I guess what I was going to say is like, yeah. I guess I feel bad because like I know you wanted to show me the show from the original one, and it took several years for it to come out. What I thought about it, and I felt really bad, and I always felt bad about that. I still feel bad about that.
You know,
Um,
it's not your job to like what I like.
I still feel bad because like I'm dragging you along with some of the shows that I'm watching.
Uh,
That's like when I brought up Kaiju Never Ate, I was like, I don't want to review it. I just kind of want to hear what you thought about it.
yeah.
Um, I don't want to keep bringing the stuff I'm trying to watch because like at the same time, I was like, I feel bad, but not like I'm not enjoying a lot of what you find. I did say I did enjoy Trigun. That was fun, but
It was nice to love it or hate it. It was nice to have us watching anime that I cared this much about, so that I could feel like I had a lot more to say. Because I talked a lot tonight, probably more than I've ever talked on this podcast, and I don't know. I think it was nice to feel like I had a lot to say about something.
maybe we can keep on having more to say as we get further into Ocean.
Yeah, I've had like with Chainsaw Man, I enjoyed it, but I was like, there's nothing deep to this for me, and like I tend to latch on to the deeper historical parts of things. Do you know what I mean? Like the philosophical questions, or the ability to like connect it to culture and learn about culture in the process, like we've done with some of the other series. But I don't know. It was nice to have a ton to say about this one for a lot of different reasons, including being part of a fandom. You know what I mean? Which we haven't. I haven't been part of a fandom of anything we've watched. We've watched since Dragon Ball. You know, because I think I'm part of the Dragon Ball fandom. I might not be the biggest part. Like I know there's some people like a lot more into it than I am, but I feel like I can hold my own for the most part. Um, so I don't know. It was fun to be that, and it was fun to talk about something that I've been invested in since it was my first anime. It was the first anime I watched of any anime ever. So it was kind of cool to go from that to this today.
I can see that, and I enjoyed discussing it, even if I was very ambivalent.
But even that, like, I'm sorry to go back to the sheep episode for a minute. Even that, think about that. It's the first anime I've ever watched. I watched it in 2004, over two or 2000, 2005. I watched it 20 years ago. My first episode of anime, about 2004, 2005 range. I think 2005. and I watched the last few minutes of the last thing that I don't think they're going to make any more Kino's Journey. So I watched the last few minutes of what's likely to be the last animated anything of Kino, and I didn't look at the screen in the last 3 minutes because I was so disinterested in how lazy it was.
You know what I think maybe with
That's
this.
how bad the last episode was. I didn't even want to look at it. I was like, I'll keep playing it, but I was looking over at my other screen and reading something on Wikipedia.
You know what I think maybe it is, and maybe this is one of those. I think it's a serious difference in opinion of what I view. I think people maybe this trying to
Mm-hmm.
make excuses for something. I don't really know what it is, but like ultimately, I've kind of felt like when it comes to opinion of something, some people think it's bad or whatever like that. I tend to don't think that's the case. But I think maybe my threshold or whatever, my ruler, my thermometer, my barometer, or whatever you want to call it, that I've
Yeah.
been using to judge something on my merits are completely different to everybody else. Because like for me, it's like while I was pretty ambivalent to this show, I was not as nearly as harsh on it as you were. But I think besides not my unwillingness, because I watched it all the way through for a second time, um, like even with my complete dismissiveness of the show,
Yeah.
I could not really turn off. Like I really wanted to, but I couldn't. Um, for me, it was like I'm here watching it. I'm absorbing everything because I actually do want to give this the legitimate chance that it deserves. Um, I feel like at a different time in my life, maybe. No, I take that back because I know how I was back post 2000. Oh, um, that was a response to 2000-year-old me. Don't worry about it. but
Okay.
but it was like I have a different view. Like I'm not as harsh because it's kind of like what as I bring it back to other things that I watched, as comparing it. This is the best way I can explain when I get as like if you talk about graphics, I always have this issue with it where I'm like, this looks fine. What are you talking about? And I honestly could not tell you what some of the differences in graphics that some people are talking about. Like, because I can appreciate a good 4K image. I can appreciate a 2K image. I can
Uh-huh.
appreciate a 1080. I can
Uh-huh.
appreciate 720 to a point. I've noticed that 720 is starting to look a little pixelated to me, which is kind of surprising. But I think it's because I've been exposed to a higher quality of something, where now
Yeah.
my scale is gonna be adjusted to account for while the bottom of my scale is gonna be different. But like with Kino's Journey is like for me, it's like it's probably I don't want to say it's at the bottom because I think I watched worse things than this, but it's got
Yeah.
that going for it. I'm just not as harsh on it, and it's like maybe it's my ambivalence and also just my I'm not as attached to the property as you are. But I think also it's not just that you have an attachment that I would say this isn't a bad thing. By the way, I just want to just this is just how I'm observing you in this show.
Uh-huh.
You have like an attachment that is like I would say when it comes to this show is kind of like your soul in an interesting way. Like you really gravitate, you really have absorbed this show. You've taught this show in school before you already have deep, keen interest already that was multiplied 5 times over because you were learning things and your attachment just grew that much stronger. And that's not
Mm-hmm.
a bad thing. Plus, for some people, I will say there are people out there who watch stuff who don't even care beyond the first watch of something, or even don't even care beyond just trying to dive into stuff further than that. It's like how like it's how I've absorbed. Like, you've done this 10 times more than I have, but like it's how I absorbed the Dragon Ball Z universe, how I absorbed the Pokemania stuff, how I absorbed
Yeah.
this a lot of stuff. I've absorbed. I've like I get entrenched. I get like it's like how Bane says I was born in the darkness.
Yeah.
But
I think
you were born
I
in
think I'm as
Kino's
much of a
Journey.
Dragon Ball fan as you are, aren't I?
I think you're more Kino's Journey, and what I'm saying is like
I'm not saying
you
I'm not saying Dragon Ball's my number one, but I think I'm usually I can hold my own in any conversation about
I'm not saying
Dragon
you
Ball.
can. I'm just saying. I think for me, it's like I think from what I can tell, your love for the Kinos Journey universe is a lot higher, which
Oh
makes me
yeah,
which
for
makes me
sure.
kind of weirded out the fact that there is still more about this story out there that you haven't really gone out of your way to. I think the first time I ever heard you even think about getting further into it in the light novel was like last week, which is really
Yeah,
weird considering that this has been
because I didn't
everywhere.
know it was available in English. I thought I'd have to learn Japanese to do it. I just assumed it was Japanese. I didn't realize there was an English version until you told me.
I think considering that the guy dubbed it, I would have thought they would have had some other stuff. Like I don't know how far. Like, and I'm pretty sure you can get English. I mean, just to be real for me, I have a Japanese book. Um, I don't read Japanese, but I have a Japanese book, video game series Xenoblade, and I only have it because again, America doesn't get into cool stuff, and then two, this is an interesting book. I don't think it would ever gotten translated in America. It's like a lot of the art. Actually, now that I'm done with the game, I can actually not read it but look at it. It's like that's how invested I am with the Xeno series in general. Like
Yeah.
there's like a lot of things. I have manga down here, stories I'm reading. It's one of those things. I think if you could find it, if you're interested enough, and it got a dub, trust me,
Uh-huh.
I think you can find it in English. Like, I don't think it should. Like I think Kano is just certain. But yeah, like I said, it was kind of shocking me like you never went further into it because I thought you would have. Like how
It's like
much.
I liked that anime series. I didn't go farther than that. I like that anime series as much as anybody. I just didn't like delve into the other stuff. And
But
when a new anime series specifically came out, I was like, I should watch it. And I started watching it, and it turned me off, and I stopped. And then I watched it with you. And at first, I was like, maybe I underestimated this. And then I don't know, there were high points, but it never got as good as what I felt the original was. Um, and it got bad at the end.
I think well, here's my thing. I think you would appreciate the material coming from the author, considering that they're still making it, as far as I can tell.
Hmm.
It could be. Now, here's the thing. That wiki could be completely out of date. I have no idea. It could
I
be completely
added
out of date. It could be done and then it just they never updated it, which is dumb. But
I added the late novel to my Christmas wish list. If that makes a difference to you.
that's cool. I just like. I'm not trying to force you to. I'm just saying. Like I feel like to me, it's like since you enjoy the show, you want more of it. And as sad as it is to say that maybe they will never make any more. Um, I feel like sometimes like if you enjoy a property enough and it is from Japan of all places, I feel like you should pursue that because again, you don't. Yeah, you like it. You're a Dragon Ball fan, but you're not as like um you're not as into it as I am. And what I will say is like maybe we're on the same level of interest with the show, with that show in particular. Because like for me, it's like when I was going, this is how I'll say this. I probably never dived into this. This is how much Dragon Ball itself had affected me. I was watching this show when I was second grade. That's how old this show is in America. I was watching it coming up in elementary school, and I watched it pretty much all the way through to like fifth grade when it ended with the Buu Saga. I was like riding along with it. On top of that, once the show had ended, Dragon Ball Z in particular had ended, before I made the jump over to watching other stuff in Japan, I had been like I've been wondering if like 'cause I had been online looking at Dragon Ball fanfic and just looking at Dragon Ball fan characters. I was all up in the fan mythos with Super Saiyan 5. I was in there with Evil Goku. That's how I knew about the whole Evil Goku stuff that was like going on the internet before Evil Goku showed up in the anime and was probably the most disappointing version of that storyline ever.
Hmm.
But like that's how I knew about all that stuff because like I was all up in all that fan stuff back when Z had ended all those years ago. Um, because when Z had ended, there wasn't much going on with stuff like it at the time. As far as I remember, I don't even know when Naruto or even Bleach popped up online, but I know they weren't there immediately after Z had ended. So I had been up in the fan stuff, and I had been reading. I think that's when I even found. I think it was Dragon Ball AF because GT had ended, and that's when everything Dragon Ball officially just stopped, at least in America anyway. Um, and that after that, I was like, man, I really wish there was something else going on. And that's when I found out about Super Saiyan 5. And at first, I thought Super Saiyan 5 was some I mean, not fan thing, but official stuff that just never made it in animation. I found out really quickly that was not the case. But it was so disappointing because it was the whole idea that Goku achieved so much power that in his next form would just turn him against humanity. Which I think would have been an interesting idea, though it probably wouldn't have been able to fully fulfill because at the time Vegeta wasn't, I don't even know if Vegeta's popularity was as high as it is now. I don't think it was back then.
Mhm.
But it's like there's no way they could have done a good storyline with Goku truly going evil and threatening the universe. But all that being said, like I was all in that fan verse stuff at that time, and I was like really entrenched in it. Especially when I got my first taste of fanfic. It was like fan fiction and stuff like that. Like I didn't know that word existed.
Mhm.
But I was like diving into it because I had no other way. I had no outlet. I didn't know. First of all, I didn't know Dragon Ball Z was something made in Japan. Until like many years later. um, like a lot of like I just kind of just dived right into it. That's kind of like where Evolution, for me, insulted me because I was in high school at the time when that movie was announced, and it's a part of like a reason like why I just don't believe animation live action can work. Though apparently, hearing that One Piece good, I just don't trust it. I can't bring myself to trust it. But back to Kino, just so we can end this here because we're at 10 minutes at 12 o'clock. It's a good show. You should probably watch it. I mean, honestly, I would probably take Doc's opinion over this more seriously than I would. I mean, than mine. It was like, he prefers the original. I say, hey, go for the original then. I mean, maybe there's something there that I obviously missed that someone else can see. It obviously exists because Doc found it. But with that being said, next week we are returning to a week. My Hero Academia returns for the final season. I sure hope Bakugo has not bled out since we last saw him.
Mhm.
That boy's got a hole in his chest. Apparently, if I remember correctly, the last scene we saw was like Deku and Shigaraki and a stalemate, sort of in a hurricane. So I thought it was interesting they called what they were saying down there a hurricane.
I would like to see. Um, I would like to see a little bit of good news in My Hero Academia. I'm a little burned out from how sad and dark it's gotten. I hope that the next episodes in the next series, um, next season brings back a little bit of optimism.
But I like a little dark in my anime.
I do too. I'm ready for someone to get a win. Like everything, they've been losing so hard for so long now, and I'm ready for someone to have a win.
I mean, Uraraka won.
No, like a real significant win, like not just like a real big win,
That wasn't a real big win.
like an All Might moment.
All Might's dead. Well, I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, he ain't exactly dead. So it looks like based off him in the dilapidated state that he's in,
Yeah.
laughing maniacally, he might actually be dying. I hope he doesn't. But I guess honestly, I guess before we end it here, I could legitimately see a reasoning for him dying, because it's like he's a powerless little man fighting basically a teenager on steroids.
Hmm.
But I guess, yeah, I guess I can see what you mean. I just don't think they're still happy ones because like I like Uraraka. And I think Froppy also had a good moment there too when she helped out Uraraka with wow, I completely forgot her name. What is her
Which one?
name? The
Which one?
girl that Uraraka fought. The girl who
Froppy.
died. Not Froppy.
Froppy. Froppy's the only character in that show. I can't remember her name. It begins with H, I think, but I can't remember it.
Toga. When Froppy and Uraraka fought Toga. I thought that was a good happy moment. I mean, yeah, it was bloody, but at the same time, I think it fit. I think it fit Toga's whole outlook on life. But with that, we'll come back next week and we'll talk about that episode. Maybe there'll be some happier news. Maybe there won't. I have no idea. Based on the fact that there's a dark cloud over the entire town, who the heck knows? And we'll be back to argue over whatever we argue with there. Good night, everybody.
Good night.